Second call, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, well, you are too. Look at that hair.
My name was on that one, so it makes it easier.
And I'm wearing you.
The challenge is to find
So what's it like being 80? Are you 80 today?
I'm 80 today. I just hope I make the next one, 90.
I think so.
The gentleman beside you is 96.
Oh wow. Okay. Oh, thanks for inviting us. It's great. I'll film you before.
Oh, I've heard so much about him.
Jim is my everything.
Regardless of what they say on your cards, you just do the same thing.
I love it. All these cards and everybody's. Where am I now?
So we're all playing musical chairs at the moment. A few people haven't. You're the best dressed person here, Graham. I just checked everybody else. No.
Arrest this man, move him on. There were chairs on each end. important.
Thank you. For those who don't know me, my name's James King. I'm Luke King. And I'll be receiving on behalf of Annie, I'd like to welcome you all here today. But Annie's just going to say a few words initially. Thank you, Annie.
Well, all I wanted to say was thank you for coming, and this is for all of you, because you've all been important in my life. And I can't live on this kind. So yes, I just wanted to say every one of you here has had an impact in some way and given me a lot of joy and pleasure knowing you. So thank you for being here.
Today I'll be saying a few words. There is actually 12 pages of it. It's in large fonts. So just bear with it, and if people want to get up later on and say a few words in the open forum, we welcome that too. The first thing I want to say is a little caption, and it's small people can reach high. And I think that is a marvellous description of our Annie. Anne Margaret Thompson, our Annie, was born on the 14th of September of 1942 at Balcutha, Otago. Just goes to prove some good things do come from New Zealand. Annie's loving parents, Mavis and Ian Dulles, initially raised Annie on the family farm, Gordonvale. It was a free-ranging childhood, but then came to a strict Presbyterian boarding school in Dunedin, with rules that did not sit too well for Annie. Annie recalls being suspended 5 times. Once,
That was in the first week.
believe this, once for sunbaking nude behind the shrubbery. Obviously a precursor to Annie's love of plants. However, being close to the soil does not appear to have assisted Annie's physical growth. It took 4 years, but Annie obtained her university entrance and enrolled at Dunedin Teachers College in Otago University. Annie went on to complete 3 years of teaching at various country and city schools before joining her friend Doc Davies on the great overseas adventure on the ocean liner Pocahontas. It often Annie met their future London flatmates, Anne and Jane Taylor, whilst the group were hanging over the ship's railing, all green, as the liner traversed the wild weather of the Great Australian Bight. Arriving in Perth and then going on to London via Ceylon, India, Aden, the Suez Canal and Lisbon. These original Spice Girls, not wanting to conform, pushed back from living in Earl's Court, instead opting for Woodside Park, a Jewish stronghold, the house being owned by an Indonesian diplomat. Well, how confusing is that? Annie almost immediately joined the Young Conservatives. Not that we think Annie was ever conservative, but it was the way to chase the boys. Annie was employed as a supply teacher, whatever that means, occasionally nannying to the rich and famous, which allowed plenty of time for travelling. Firstly, a 13-week journey crammed into an early model VW Bug, sold to the group by a very trustful group of Indian men with nodding heads. The group comprising of 3 girls and a boy with food, clothes, a tent, sleeping bags and a blow-up mattress crammed into the Bug, set off with problematic brakes. The group were not informed of the brake problem by the previous nodding head owners. Perhaps being naive, Pee-wees helped somewhat, with the many situations encountered, which included being chased for war passports by thugs in Macedonia, facing interrogation at Checkpoint Charlie, not once but twice, having the Bug vandalised in Germany, and then giving up the ghost. The Bug was finally shipped back to Dover by the insurance company. How do you get an insurance company to do that? It's beyond me. But it was sold to an unsuspecting policeman. Annie gave up Annie coming up against the law, again prevailed. Floating in London was a special time for Annie, with some of the celebrities from those days here today, notably Margaret Curtis. Stand up, Margaret, we're
Stand up while you can.
and Jan Needham, who was unable to attend today, but we did speak to Jan during the week, I think today in actual fact. During these times there were many trips to the continent in North Africa. One adventure on the continent was in a rented Leyland B76. Could things get any worse than the bug, in a word, yes. But going to the beach area of Spain provided plenty of sun and play. Then back to London and more teaching. Also, during these times, Annie's father would on occasion send the sheep for the residents of the Peewee Flat, which the local butcher also enjoyed part of. In 1967, after 2 years, Annie returned to New Zealand on a Qantas plane full of Anzacs, parting all the way to Hong Kong. Back in New Zealand, Annie toured at a small country town in central Otago for 6 months, occasionally wearing her London flared floral pantsuit to school and playing Sergeant Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band Beatles record at parties. Wow, what an international trendsetter we had here. Going forward, Jane and Anne Taylor back in Sydney thought it was a good idea for Annie to move to Sydney to meet her future husband, Donald. Later, Annie and Donald married on the 12th of December 1968. Later, Hamish and Peter came along. The family lived at Roseville and later Pymble for 34 years. Whilst initially back in Sydney, Annie expanded her teaching experiences at Dernside, Matraville and North Balgowlah primary schools. Then it was time for Annie to go back to school, Ryde School of Agriculture, for 6 years. During this time, Annie started a number of businesses, they being the Garden Advisory Service, the Garden Design Studio, and with Susanna Smith. Where are you, Susanna? Hello there. Who is here today? The Gourmet Garden Tours. One of Annie's first customers being the former Prime Minister Bob Hawke and his then wife Blanche at their home at Northbridge. Annie on one occasion was invited into Bob and Blanche's bedroom whilst they were in bed together so that Annie could check the condition of the roses on the balcony. Today that would be a great story for the internet. Annie wrote articles in the North Shore Times, taught landscape design and completed community projects, planting and building gardens for Habitat for Humanity with the help of friends, some of whom are here today. The real highlight of Annie's life was with Susanna Smith on the Gourmet Tours from 1994 until 2010. Garden and wine tours of New Zealand, Tasmania, Western Australia and Italy were all part of it, which included researching, organising, marketing, and guided by Susanna, commonly known as the mechanic. I never knew that. And the garden gnome. Then it was time to sell the house at Pymble and look towards retirement. Annie and Donald purchased a Winnebago. They stored their furniture and commenced trips down to the south coast, the Blue Mountains and other places nearby. So there's to find a retirement nest. Unfortunately, Donald became ill, which required a return to Sydney and renting at Newport. With the help of Pam and Jim, Annie and Donald purchased a home at the Woodlands Estate, Mona Vale. Soon after Donald passed away, with Annie flying out from the UK. Pre and post this time, Annie had a number of cruises with Doc, Brian, Pam, Hamish, Rachel, Rachel's mother, Anne, mostly through the UK and France. Having taken up residence at Garigal Place, Mona Vale, Annie has joined in with the Northern Beaches community, where Annie has been playing croquet, golf, bushwalking and drinking coffee, and not coffee. And most importantly, looking after me. Another important role Annie undertook was Annie becoming a National Parks volunteer, taking tours to the Barrenjoey Lighthouse. During all this time, Annie enjoyed her stays back in New Zealand at her home in Wanaka, where friends had visited. Annie also assisted Peter in a restoration project in Dunedin. Eventually Annie was captured in the COVID-19 lockdown in Wanaka. But as always, Annie survived and made it back to Sydney, where she again has taken up many renovation projects on her home. Of recent times, Annie has become vocal in politics and climate change, supporting the federal election of Dr. Sophie Scamps. Gladly Dr. Stance was elected, and I don't have to hear the name Scott Morrison anymore from Annie. There were many discussions. All up, I think all of us here would agree that Annie is actually taller than what she is. Annie has certainly achieved in her life's endeavours. On a personal note, Annie to me is my best friend, a loyal and loving person. The only problem is that Annie is still a Kiwi and is worried that she could be charged with some obscene criminal offence and then deported to the land of the long white cloud. So, with the support of the political clout, Annie will soon become an ANZAC with dual Kiwi Aussie citizenship. No wonder Annie backed Dr. Scant. 3 cheers for Annie. Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! Hip hip! Hooray! We'll be singing happy birthday later, Annie, and embarrassing a little bit more with people coming up with a few things to say. And Hamish has got some words from a good friend over in New Zealand to read out a little bit later on. So enjoy the first part of the day, and I hope everyone has
Send us revealing
I thought we were all meant to be in costume today. Where's your sheep up here?
I couldn't find it. I gave it to somebody else and I never got it back again.
You went down at the beach. I didn't even go to that beach.
You were staying at the beach and you didn't go to the beach.
Well, there's a lot of me, there's a lot of you people as well in here, and it's sort of over the period of my time. And if you have a look here, you'll probably find yourself somewhere stuck in there. So I just wanted to say that Hamish has been working on this for about a month. Oh, and I also wanted to say that all these here, not on the day we did it, these are original paintings from my friend Kathleen down there. It was a world famous artist. So it's got an original. That's where.
grew up with Anne on the farm in Dillon. She can't be here today, so she sent a nice note for us to read out today and reminisce on Anne's life. So let me read this out. Put the glasses on. I'm getting older now. Greetings to you all from Wanaka on this auspicious occasion. I would dearly love to have been celebrating with you, but circumstances deem otherwise. I've probably known Annie, Dilly. I don't know where Dilly comes from. But why? Dilly got something to be Dilly Dell. Longer than anyone present. I grew up on neighbouring farms near Balclutha, South Otago, New Zealand. Our parents were friends and have become friends by osmosis, really. We had a very unregulated childhood as farm kids did in those days. Hide and seek in Anne's orchard, biking to Kakapuka to watch the train go over the pennies we put on the rails, and riding Dolly. Dolly was Anne's old white pony, who only had one speed until she turned around to go home when she found another gear. We thought it was great. Dolly, probably not so. I don't know how old she was, but she must have been well into her teens. I was always envious of Anne's musical ability. She played the piano with skill and even did some composing, including a memorable piece she called Rumba. Do you remember that, Anne?
Begrudgingly.
Secondary school took us to board at Columba College in Dillon, where I have a feeling I was happier than Anne. Just ask Anne about Miss Fucking. Of course, Anne wouldn't have pushed any boundaries or broken any rules. Not our Annie. After school, we went on our separate paths, Anne to be a teacher and I to be a nurse. But though we saw very little of each other for quite some years, we somehow kept in touch. I remember staying with Anne and Donald at their home at St Ives. We went to a Greek restaurant for dinner one night, with Anne driving. She could hardly see over the steering wheel and turned right too soon into the wrong lane. But it was no problem. She just drove over the concrete medium stick and carried on. Donald was just about on the floor in the back seat waiting for the crash. The dinner was good though, and I can't remember who drove home. And now, many years later, we live in the same street in Wanaka, when Anne's in New Zealand, and so the long friendship continues. Have a wonderful day, Anne. I'm sorry we weren't there to share it with you, but I know many Australian friends will make it a special day for you, and we'll have another celebration when we see you next. Thank you for your friendship over the years. I have valued it greatly, and trust it continues for some time.
Just like to put it to them.
My name's Ros Andrews. I've been privileged to be a friend of Annie's. In fact, I'm going to go. I do. Shall I stand on the table? I've been privileged to be a friend of Annie's for well over 40 years, and our link has been horticultural. So Anne talked about going to the Ride School of Horticulture. We actually didn't meet there, but we met in committees over at horticulture, and we bonded. So that bond continued, including a fabulous trip up to do permaculture at Nimbin. And we went up and drove Nimbin, and the only brief Bill said was, "Don't you come back with cheesecloth and an earring." Well, naturally we did. It took even an hour to work out it was a fake nose ring, but that's okay. So we did this sort of horticulture together. We were on committees together. We explored different places. We were on the open gardens together. So it's been a fabulous link, but it's been more than that. With Marion, we were involved in a share club. So that was an interesting time. We decided that ladies needed to know about shares. We didn't actually make any money, but that wasn't relevant. We had a fabulous time for about 6 years, didn't we? But Anne and I have also walked from Lake City together. We stayed with you, Hamish, and we had a lovely time. And then we went off and drove around England and had some time together. So our lives together have been intertwined over that period of time. It's been such a privilege to get to know you and to enjoy your company, and now to play bridge with you, Anne. So thank you very much, and happy birthday.
Oh, Susanna, sorry, ladies first.
Annie, I met you when I was in second class at the MC. And she said to me, I've met you before. She said, yes, you're my slave in another life. I said, oh, really? We hit it off. We were friends, and we sort of, you were interested in gardens, we were trying to do a garden at one stage. You would help us with that. Just the girls were friends, and we went a lot of school things together. We both ended up with, Annie came to New Zealand, and I had my aunt, my guardian, who lived in Dunedin. And so when Annie would go over there, she'd take gifts from my aunt, I went over there, I'd take something from her parents. And so the logical thing happened that we would, how can we get free trips to New Zealand? I was a guide in Sydney, and Annie was a horticulturalist. So garden tours. That's how it started. And then we found that the garden tours, just garden tours, sort of like the sunset people of our lives. We didn't like the sunset. But it didn't really work. And so we thought we'd go up market and do the food and the wine and the garden tours. And that's what we did for 15 years. And we had such fun. We do 2 site inspections a year. Which could be New Zealand, it could be Italy or in Australia, it could be Italy. We did one to England as well. We pulled that one off. No. But we had the site inspection anyway. All tax deductible. And we would say, we'd be packing up and getting ourselves organised, and we'd be saying sad farewell to our beloved partners. Goodbye, darling. See you in a couple of weeks. It's going to be really tough. Pick Annie up and go to the airport. Be on that plane so quick. First glass of champagne, no problem.
Everyone was happy.
Everyone was happy. But they were fun. We had lots of adventures. We met all sorts of people. He of the very good legs.
He is a very good thing.
Very good.
Yes.
Didn't matter how cold it was, he had shorts on, and we all noticed. Beautiful gardens, great food. Just it was an amazing experience. It ran its course. Donald became ill. So thank you for Annie to be there. Our daughter is having babies every 2 years. That happened. And it's I think ran its course. It was huge fun. And have so many funny memories. Most of the time I discussed here. But they were great years, Aggie. Thank you very much. Your friendship has been fantastic.
You're being a great mechanic.
Annie was the gardener, I was a mechanic. I made it all happen. I do have one story. We had all our passports, we used to have passports. And someone said, where are our passports? No idea. Someone said, Annie wasn't very good in the afternoons. Snoozing. We had all the passports. Someone said, oh, where's my passport? And he said, oh, I'm not sure, it's in another place. And I went, whoa! But it was great. We had too many loves, so many loves, a few disasters, a few crankies. But
We lost a few.
We're not meant to admit to that. We're told they were left behind. No mucking about. But, no, they were people. Some of them were really good friends too. But Annie, thank you again for your friendship. And come and see what disasters we've done in our garden. We've gone against everything we've said.
know you have.
And we're still arguing. Thank you, Annie. Thank you. Everyone, I've got a glass
I met Annie in 1965. I was very important in the UK. Annie was a teenager, I met Australia for Joe Willie, and he was there with her mate Doc and another lady, Trace. I was stationed in Manchester when we got to England, and he was in London, but Annie always sort of popped up in my life periodically. I saw a photo of me at London Bridge with my little old Mini on the photo there.
When he had hair.
And I had hair.
You're good looking,
I come across Annie in Rome when she was travelling around and we were bombing around. And she thought she'd try and talk to me and took me to see an Italian opera in the Roman baths, which I promptly fell asleep and I didn't remember. And then later life, when I returned to Sydney with my souvenir from Manchester, John and Anna were living just at the other end of the Cowdrey Avenue where we were living at the time. So all that period and young children period, we socialised quite a lot with John and Anna at Roseville and they rekindled. And then we retired and Port Macquarie, so we lost contact a little bit then, but Annie always seemed to pop up every now and again, and it was always Annie. And only very recently we thought, we haven't seen Annie for ages, until she was over in New Zealand, COVID had put her there, and out of the blue she said, "It's Annie." She said, "Come down for my 80th birthday." Boy, I couldn't think of anything more. Annie, you're a one-off. You push yourself. Congratulations. Lovely to meet you.
Louder. Oh, sorry. And Annie and I have shared many, many years of road trips together. Not your actual Thelma and Louise, because we never ever met anyone. We never met anyone at McDonald's anyway, on our way down there. But we've had so many weekends together where we dressed up for the occasion, for the weekend away, be it ABBA or French or Colonial. And one time it was at Wood End in Victoria where we were really dressed up, fur coats, gloves, the works. And Annie and I were driving back to Sydney and we almost got to Sydney when she said, "Oh no, I've forgotten the dress, my dress I hired. I think we have to turn around and go back and get it." And I said, "No Annie, we're not doing that." So we've had a lot of fun weekends together. But Annie's a very good driver, but I have to say, one trip through Goulburn, in the late night, we did turn up the street, turn up a one-way street. So I went, uh-oh, we're not doing this, turn around and go back. So, Annie, thank you for the lovely weekends we've had away.
Who's going to be lucky last?
That part of Annie's life, the walking and all the fun. I first met Annie through one of her very old friends, Margaret, who introduced me in 2011. Annie promptly went to England so I didn't see her again until I went to my niece's wedding on Hamilton Island and discovered that my niece was marrying her nephew.
Wow.
And since then we've done so many things together. One of the things we did was our Tuesday walks where Julie and Annie and I were the first people who walked up to Barrenjoey with the plan of walking, not in the one day, Sydney Harbour Bridge, which we currently did, and we had must be 20 or 30 different people, but there's a little core of us here today, and that we all do it not every Tuesday, but just about, and that's been so much fun. Annie is one of the few people, you would have seen us up there in that little video with funny hats. That was Annie, my sister Roz and I in Japan, where we managed to miss our flight out of Japan. Went on then to Italy with Annie and Margaret, where we managed to miss a boat. Oh, and we also caught a train going the wrong way in Japan. We missed a train in Japan. So we've missed a lot of transport together, but we've had lots of fun. And Then of course Annie started the croquet group down in the park, so we're down there playing croquet. So it's a wonderful group and a lot of it's due to Annie. And Annie, I think we're all agreeing, you've been a great friend and you're a great part of the circle. So thank you.
Now we've got some cake dessert coming up. But before that arrives, because it's a little bit difficult, the table's got to be cleared out. Cake will come in, but before that cake comes out, I'd like everyone to stand up and sing happy birthday to Annie. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Annie. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hooray. Hip hip. Hooray. Hip hip. Hooray. Yes, to Annie. You can start saying.
When you know the time. I think it's
Look at that.
look at us.
It's a bestseller. Wow.
Look at that. Remember us doing that?
The Archie Trekkers.
You never have memories of those. Unless somebody puts it together.
This is Dave's
That is fantastic.
all of it's true.
I know. This is why we just wanted to open this one. Look how young we all look. I know. That's terrible. Oh, look at that. 2006. Got dark hair. Oh my God. I'm still happy. Amazing. Oh, I remember Andy always wears a wig and a mask. Oh, do you remember Michael? Yes. That was the most fabulous night. And the bulls.
How could it not be with all us there?
And Gordon had the How long did it take you to
Annie in a pink wig.
About a week.
Oh, week.
I had to go back through all my photos. I had to scan some of them because they weren't digital.
There was another week with the censors.
Oh my God, that's great. We were so adventurous.
Kim, we're
Sheep.
No, but sheep was so just pirates.
there are thousands of
It's on video. That's
Never
right.
were more stripes. Why did pirates wear stripes? Who dressed that thing? Monica was just on the fabulous shot. Isn't that fabulous? We didn't make it. We were going to a winery on our way to a
Is that on the way back from the? That's on the way back from the winery.
It was really good day. That was great.
Looks nice.
All right, just one more rendition. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Annie. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip
You got a knife?
Oh, very good.
I'll get a knife.
That's not enough. This is enough.
That's right through.
Yummy.
Three cheers for Annie. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. All right, that's it, Annie. I'm going home now. bit of cake will be...
I'm leaving school at the end of year 10. So we had to stay at school, and he was offered a different year through education connections. He's a pretty smart little guy. No, but he likes money, and you only get $15 an hour as an apprentice carpenter.
Yummy. Happy birthday, Annie.
We're all coming today on his behalf, and things are wrapping up now. It's been a glorious afternoon. I encourage you to come back to the Pasadena. It's a great little venue, as you can see, and the staff have been nice and kind, the food's been fantastic. And again, just one final rendition. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Annie. Happy birthday to you. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you.